Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. WYSIWYG, yung mga digital, mga millennials, ano ninyo ibig sabihin yan? WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. Noon hong nauso ang GUI, Graphic User Interface, na pinauso ng Apple at ginaya ng Windows, ang nauso po yung mga icons. So drag, copy and paste, drop down, may mga icon ng mga basurahan, doon yung itatapon yung files na gusto nyong burahin. That's graphic user interface. And what you see is what you get. But this is also true in our spiritual life. What you see is what you get. If you see hopelessness, then that hopelessness is what you get. And I will illustrate. I have told you the story about two old men who were both dying in a hospital room, occupying one hospital bed each. One of the men had his bed close to the wall, close to the door, and the other had his bed close to the window. The one whose bed was close to the wall was always angry. Laging sinisikmat ang mga nurses, laging pinapagalitan ng mga tagalinis ng kwarto, laging galit sa doktor, laging nagmumura, sapagkat hindi niya matanggap na meron siyang sakit. And I know what I'm talking about. My father had cancer at 56 years old, just after early retirement. And for a long, long while, he couldn't accept that he was sick because he was always active all the while. He was a farmer, he was an accountant, he was everything, and was working from Monday to Sunday. Even if he was parish council president and member of the Adoracion Nocturna Filipina. So, hindi na natutulog ng Sabado ng gabi, nagtatrabaho pa rin ng linggo sa Tagaytay, sa bukid. But when you cannot accept the reality, and you see only your sickness, then the natural reaction of men is to deny. I'm not sick. I'm only 56 years old. I cannot be sick with diabetes. I have always been strong. I take care of my health. I'm very healthy, so why should I be sick? And therefore he was angry every day. But the other one accepted his reality. And his bed was looking out the window. And when the other guy was cursing and shouting, dressing down everyone, and angry all day long, the other man would describe what he was seeing outside the window. He was seeing children playing, young parents bringing their children to the park, older women and older men going to the market to buy their provisions for the week. He was describing the beauty of the meadow, the beauty of the park. He was describing everything in beautiful words in order to console the other guy who was always angry. What you see is what you get. And then the man beside the window died. And therefore the other guy said, I want to be in that window, by the window. And when he was brought by the window, he saw a drab, empty wall. There was nothing. The other guy saw an alternative vision. That alternative vision is what the readings today would like us to all have. It is an alternative vision that we call faith. It is an alternative vision that we also call hope. It is an alternative vision that we call love. Hope beyond hope. Faith in a faithless world. Love in a world filled with everything else that militates against love. Ano ang ibig sabihin? Sabi ng unang pagbasa, cursed is the man who trusts in human beings. Okay, so if your vision is trust in other people, well, you'll be disappointed. Even your own brother or sister will betray you. and I have it on the authority, my own authority as a counselor, that those whom we hurt the most are those closest to us. Those who hurt you the most are your parents, are your children, are your brothers and sisters. And that is the reality of life. But then, after saying, "Cursed is the man who trusts in human beings," he gives the opposite. "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord." The first one is like a barren bush in the desert. The second one is like a tree planted by the river, by sweet flowing water. And therefore the blessed one is one who trusts in the Lord. He has found an alternative vision in a world filled with rottenness, corruption, dishonesty, and anger. The third reading from the Gospel of Luke tells us two different visions. Blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who are now hungry. Blessed are you who are now weeping. Blessed are you when people hate you. And mind you, he was not giving you a sociological theory. He was not making us choose between the rich and the poor. He was not making a sacralization and romanticization of poverty. He was not nagbibigay ng consuelo de bobo sapagkat ikaw ay tumatangis ngayon, mapalad ka sapagkat ikaw ay tumatangis. No. Hindi siya nagbibigay ng isang fake news at nagsasabing mapalad kayo kasi gutom kayo. No. He was talking to disciples who followed him and who made a choice. They made a choice for him in exchange of everything else. In other words, when the disciples who were following him in the territory of Tyre and Sidon, which was pagan territory, this is the Sermon on the Plain, no longer the Sermon on the Mount, no longer in the bulubundukin ng Judea. This is on the far side of the Holy Land at the time, which was Gentile territory, which meant to say that those who have made a choice for God did a monumental decision. They were poor. Why? They left their nets, they left their boats, they left their livelihood. They were hungry. Why? They didn't bring, wala pang mga backpack nung araw, wala pang mga portable refrigerators, wala pang mga campers, wala mga sasakyan. They were hungry. Blessed are you who are now weeping. They were crying because they saw an alternative vision and they left their families and missing them probably. Blessed are you when people hate you. They were hated because they hated the Galilean. They hated the man from Nazareth. They hated him who was talking about a coming kingdom from one who's a carpenter. Who's gonna believe that? They were poor, they were hungry, they were weeping, they were hated, they were rejected. And the Lord proclaimed them blessed. This is not a sacralization of poverty. This is a declaration of blessedness in context. Because they were poor, because they had chosen something else, someone else, beyond their little money in their livelihood as fishermen, as carpenters, or what have you. They chose the Lord. And when they chose the Lord, then they found problems. My dear friends, the opposite, you may choose it also. Woe to you who are rich. Okay, if you don't want to be blessed, then choose the ways of the world. The world thinks that by having fat bank accounts, then you are blessed because you are not wanting for anything. The world thinks that if you are always parang laging bagong kain, laging busog, laging puno ang tiyan, ikaw ay mapalad. The world thinks that all those who laugh and enjoy life and enjoy the material goods of this world are happy. And the world thinks that if you have so many likes and followers in Facebook or in social media, in Twitter, in WhatsApp and in TikTok, then you're a blessed man. Let me remind you of today's alternative vision. Today's alternative vision has to do with faith, hope, and love. But more than faith and more than love, I speak about hope because the second reading talks about hope in the risen Lord. And this is the alternative vision of one who saw visions earlier on in his life. He didn't look too kindly at the Lord. Saul didn't look too kindly on the followers of Christ. He was actually persecuting them and wanting them dead until he saw an alternative vision. When the Lord told him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And then he saw an alternative vision of what really matters. Today, I'd like us to hold on to this alternative vision. We may still be wanting in many things. Many of us lost jobs. Many of us lost our livelihood. Many of us lost the only little consolations that we can get every Sunday, and that is to go to malls because you're afraid to go out now. Many children ay hindi man lang makalabas ng bahay for the past 2 years. But the alternative vision of one who sees more, not less, is that of one who sees God. God who may be distant and difficult to see behind the pain and the suffering and all the current climate of anger and political division that we have. But the Lord calls us today to look beyond, look on Christ. And then when we see Christ and when we see His promises, when we trust in God and not in human beings, when we trust in the Lord and not in political parties, in any candidate, when we trust in His word and not in fake news, then we've got what it takes. And then we deserve to be called, happy are you, fortunate are you. Now you are poor, but the kingdom of God is yours. Happy are you now who are hungry now. You will be satisfied. Happy are you because you are now weeping. You will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude and insult you, and denounce your name as evil. Sa mundong ito na ang mali ay ginagawang tama at ang tama ay ginagawang mali. Blessed are you. Our blessedness doesn't rely or depend on what we have and what we hold. Our blessedness depends on what we see, and what you see is what you get.